Welcome everyone to Here for the Horses. Glad you are here for the horses. We have a fun day today. What we're going to do is, you know that we're all looking at this book here, okay? We're looking at this book, Equine Structural Integration Myofascial Release Manual, okay? And that's by Jim Pascucci. All right, so we're going to keep looking at that. We're going to talk a little bit about evaluating movement. I am going to skip over some of this because it gets a little in depth, but I recommend taking a look at it. You know, evaluating movement is difficult, right? I think we all kind of know that. It's like, oh, there's so many things to look at. There's so many different factors. But he does a good job laying out the basics, so I enjoyed reading it. He also does a standing analysis. So he goes into looking at horses when they stand, which I do that mostly, to be honest with you. A standing analysis, unless I am there for a particular reason, then I will do movement analysis also. You guys know that I did it again the other day. What was walking on the road? And I was like, oh, it wasn't a cat this time. Last time it was a cat, and I did a gait analysis on a cat as it walked across the street. It was something weird, like a two-legged animal. But it caught my eye and I was like, oh, something's off there. So once you get good at it, you start seeing it in a lot of different areas. Okay. I'm going to skip the trot and canter. We'll talk a little bit about it as I'm going through the pages. But today I wanted to, he does have a section on safety. So I'm going to talk about some of the safety features that he talks about, which are awesome. I'm going to compare it to me. We're similar, him and I, on our beliefs on safety. So that's cool. And then we're going to talk about some of strokes for myofascial release. Okay, so you guys know that I've talked about equine bodywork massage strokes, right? So today we're going to talk about myofascial release strokes and the slight differences between them. So if you have a pen and paper, you might want to write them down. That will also be our homework for this week. We're going to try out these different myofascia release strokes and see if you can tell a difference in how they work. Okay. And I think after we get rolling with Journey Through the Horse, oh, by the way, we're starting that again in February. I have got my clinic is up and rolling, and Carrie is proof of it. She's my first person on my new platform. And so it worked from the beginning to the end. So that was exciting. A lot of you are already on it also, so feel free to start tooling around. Always let me know if there's any issues that I need to fix. And then also, if you can, let me know if there's anything that like doesn't look great, because I would appreciate that too. Because sometimes it's like there should be like a thumbnail somewhere and I don't have one set in there yet. You know what I mean? So it's like a blank like cartoon of what should be there. So tell me if you see any of those, because I don't like those. I like to have photos and stuff because people like to look at horses, right? Okay.
Hey,
So
Erin,
that's what
just
we're, huh?
sorry, I was just gonna say on about that because I keep trying to wrap my head around this. My sister got a new horse, and I want to get her this, get her onto this. That
Uh-huh.
would be where she starts, right? Journey.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be so fun and easy. And then she would also be involved in the coaching community. So then she could watch how us veterans do it, right? And then she can join in when she's comfortable.
And then I can, because I've taken it before, or do I pay for it again? Or how does that work if I want to go through it again? Is it the
So
weekly?
when Molly originally
Yeah,
did it, that's when you took it, right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, after that, she offered a lifetime to this
Yep,
clinic. And so if you signed up for that and that was like 6 months after, then you
yep.
still have access to it. If you didn't, you'll have to get it again. And if you do have to get it again, February is going to be when you want to get it because I'm going to do a sale on it.
Okay.
Okay. And
And
same with your sister.
if I sign in, that means I'm in. I'm pretty sure I did it, but I'm not 100% sure. But if I
Yeah.
sign through that format that she gave us, that probably means I'm in.
That is far
Okay.
expired, but I can look you up.
Okay,
So,
okay,
I'll write it down because I won't remember. I'll
okay,
write down to look you up and let you know.
okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. Okay. So, okay. So and then after we talk about our book, then we are going to go over the photos that I put up this week of the chest of the horse, okay? Because that had so much cool stuff. So many people submitted photos to that. And if you guys like that, I loved it. I loved looking at those photos and being like, oh, look at that. Oh, that looks good. And while I'm, you know, on that subject, just so you know, you can't tell everything from a photo, right? I think we all know that, okay? But it was fun. It was a learning experience. I did get some fantastic feedback from some people who, I was like, ooh, and I wrote to them personally. And then they said, oh, well, I had a body worker come out 2 weeks ago and they found this, this, and this. And I was like, yeah, that fits perfectly. Right on. Thanks for telling me that. So there is confirmation that you can tell a lot by photos. So that was pretty exciting. Okay. Any other random questions, nuts and bolts? For new people, thank you for joining. We're pretty lax here. So if you have a question, you can one, raise your hand. And if you don't use Zoom a lot, you might not know that. But if you go to the React thing at the bottom, you can raise your hand. See how I just did that? So the little heart with the React, you can raise your hand and then you can lower it. So that's one way to get my attention. Another is to unmute. So feel free to unmute. And then another is to just use the chat bar. And I'm a little slow on the chat bar. So I'll keep it up and then hopefully that'll help. Okay. All right. So let's talk about where we left off. We left off on this book at evaluating movement.
Hey, Erin, I
Okay.
had a question.
Yeah.
When I sent you the video of doing the pole and facial on Bella, you had said the right side of her needed some work and we would address that through class. Is that something that you'd be able to message me and have me start working on before the class so that she's not uncomfortable until we get to that point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So did we talk about, I know you guys saw this photo last week, right? Because that's what our homework was based on, correct? Okay. So this is the sternum and the forelegs, right? And then that's the serrate muscle. Okay. And so our evaluation was, is this in the center of the horse's body? Okay. So that's where all these photos and stuff came from. So that was kind of cool. Did we talk about the 5 grades of lameness? Okay, good. All right, so I'm where I'm supposed to be. So he uses the 5 grades of lameness. And some of you who took my sore back series know that I use scales also to grade tension. And here's Stephanie. Stephanie is the one I was going to talk about today. I knew she was going to make it. But I use scales also to get a mental picture of what I think like the soreness level is. So on the sore back series, I think I use a scale of 1 through, do I use 10 or 5? It might have been 10. 5? I don't know. But either way, that scale is for you. It's not for anyone else. Because if you remember, like my scale of 1 to 5 is different from somebody else's scale of 1 to 5. Okay. So it's for you. So when you palpate a horse or you find something going on, then you know, well, I say that this horse is currently at a level 4 of soreness on their back, and then you do your work, and then you come back and they're at a level 2. That's awesome. Okay. And that scales for you. You wouldn't tell the vet that. You wouldn't tell anybody else that because they're going to be like, I don't know what that means. You know, their 4 might be like wild. Okay. So, scales of lameness. So he uses a scale of lameness, and he has 5 grades of lameness. Okay. And he says it's defined by the severity of the movement. Okay. So grade 1 is difficult to observe. Okay. Difficult to observe. Not consistent, not consistently apparent regardless of circumstances. Okay, so that'd probably fit in there, your little intermittent lameness sort of stuff, right? Where you're like, I don't know, are they lame? You come, hey, Joe, come tell me if this horse is lame. I can't tell, right? So that's going to be your grade 1. Grade 2 is difficult to observe at a walk or trotting a straight line, consistently apparent under certain circumstances. Okay, so normally we put them into a circle, don't we? Because they're better one way than they are the other. Then all of a sudden it pops up. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, internet was terrible.
No problem. Okay. So grade 3 is consistently observable at the trot under all circumstances. So you guys know that the trot is the most balanced gait, and that's when you can see a lot of these lameness things. So it's 50-50 at a trot. Okay. Grade 4 is obvious lameness, marked nodding, hitched or shortened stride. And then grade 5 is minimal weight bearing in motion or at rest, inability to move. So those make sense, right? And I think we've all probably seen horses in all those stages. You know? Okay. I'm going to kind of skim through this section because we don't have a ton of time to work on it. He did say again, the trot is the most balanced gait and is therefore useful in highlighting any imbalances in movement. Okay. He does talk about head bobbing, which is a dead giveaway for lameness. And then it gets tricky because the head bob is, I believe, the opposite direction when it's in the hind end. So it becomes a little tricky, right? Okay, so I'm gonna skip over that because it gets a little hard. I did find this interesting, and I don't know if I've ever tested this, but bones and joints are stressed more by hard surfaces, and soft tissue is stressed more by soft surfaces. Okay.
That's
So the
interesting.
hard makes sense. The hard makes sense for the bones and joints, right? Because that's percussion. I did not know about the soft surfaces stress the soft tissue more. So that's interesting. Okay. And then most of us know this, the rear end is strained more going uphill and the front end is strained more going downhill. That one you don't think about as much, but that's true. That's hard on the front end when they're going downhill, especially if they don't put that booty under them.
Yeah.
Right? If you haven't taught them to do that, it's a great thing to teach horses, get that booty under, because it takes that stress off the front leg.
Hey, Aaron, on that soft tissue thing, when you're doing like endurance or long distance riding, the horses that aren't trained in the sand hills have a harder time when they go to these endurance rides that have rockier. So they say that people that live in the sand hills are lucky because we can train hard surfaces by, you know, harder pavement roads or harder dirt roads and sand, whereas people that live in just in the hard can't train for the sand. So that's where the soft
Dude,
tissue.
sand is for real. You guys ever tried, you know, in the movies, they do that. Let's go jog on the sand. Let's go jog on the beach. And then you're like, yeah, that sounds fun. That'd be super cool right next to the ocean. And then you go do it and you're like, oh my gosh, never mind. Let me walk. That's for real.
And there's
Okay.
different levels of deepness by the beach too. You have your hard pack, and then the further away you get from the ocean, it changes. You know
Oh,
how thick the
cool.
dirt is? Yeah. So I
I
had
love
a
that.
3.5-year-old that I would
I
go through
had-
the long.
I had a
Wow, that's
story to
awesome.
share about the sand. I have no sand to ride my horses in. They ride, we ride in rocky, hilly terrain all the time. But my husband and I did a trek in Costa Rica where we went to the coast, And we got to the coast, you know, it's like, oh, run your horses on the beach. Of course, the horses hadn't really ran for 4 days. And so they just ran as fast as they could. So the wrangler, she's like, head inland, because as soon as they got into that soft sand, they just stopped. Like, you know, because they couldn't
Oh,
go.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
out
it
on
got
the
harder
beach,
real
it was
quick.
hard enough. So
That's awesome. Okay. He goes into a little bit about how he typically evaluates. He won't work a horse. He won't work on a horse if it's above a 1. I mean, that's pretty wild, I think, because I help a lot of horses that are hurting. So I definitely work horses over a 1. So that's one thing we do disagree on. I don't like working on horses that are dead lame, right? Because as I'm working on them, they have to withstand me pushing on them. Okay, so if they're lame, that's not fun. That's not fun. And they're certainly not going to push into me and, you know, get even more relief or anything like that. So I don't like working on dead lame horses, but I will definitely work on horses that are off. Because they're in a lot of pain and they have a lot of tension throughout their body. So I love helping horses feel better that are either on stall rest or, you know, don't feel great. So that's one thing I kind of do a little bit different. Okay, he does talk about, and this was a fun section. He talks about standing analysis. He talks about the gaits of the horse. He talks about a trotting analysis, and he has some kind of cool photos, you know, so you can see, obviously, this one looks less happy, heads up, kind of U-shaped. And then he has a nice round photo, you know, and then, right? The difference between those two, pretty obvious, okay? That U-shaped neck's a dead giveaway. Okay. So good stuff in there. Safety. We agree on most things here. It says, working with horses. It is unfortunate but true that the use of someone to handle the horse, usually the owner, is potentially the most dangerous situation. It's due to a number of reasons. So farriers, a lot of the time, like a handler. I don't like a handler. I don't want someone handling their horse. And he goes into some different reasons that I didn't think of, but I did appreciate. The first reason he says is the owner and the horse have established a herd relationship, which could be dysfunctional. The owner may not be dominant, be the dominant animal in this herd, which could lead to problems with the horse. Okay, so that makes sense if you're thinking horse mentality. So I've watched as I'm massaging quietly in a stall by myself with the horse. I've watched horses being handled, and the owner definitely is not in tune to the fact that the horse is running them. Okay, so that is not helpful to me when I'm massaging either. Okay, so that was reason number 1 is the herd mentality or herd dynamic. 2 is the bad safety habits of both the owner and the horse are part of their relationship. They are both used to this and perhaps an unsafe relationship. That's very true. I have had multiple examples where the owner has gotten used to the horse biting at them. Okay. Horses do not bite at me. They might do it once. That's it. I do not have horses that regular bite at me. They don't do it. They learn very, very quickly. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's because I don't put up with it. I mean, it is kind of because I don't put up with it, but I don't put up with it one time. And then they go, oh, okay, she's not going to do that. So I guess I won't do that again. And then it's over with. We don't deal with that problem again. And I guess the other key factor to that is I pay a lot of attention to the horse. A lot of attention. And another factor to that is I don't feed treats. The horses do not get treats from me when I'm working on them. That makes very mouthy behavior. Okay. So there are a lot of reasons I don't get bit at. A lot. And I know more than 3 people that get bit at pretty regularly. Okay, so it is kind of common. All right. Number 3, there are 3 animals involved rather than 2 if you are working alone with the horse. This adds to your potential for distraction as well as to that of the owner and the horse. I've found that to be very true. I have some people that they'll dink with them when I'm working on them, and it's either they'll give them treats, they'll mess with their hair, they'll kind of push on their face, you know, and it's like when I'm massaging a horse, everything they do, I'm paying attention to. So if someone is kind of messing around with them, it messes me up big time. I really can't handle it. So I'll generally stop that pretty quick. So if that makes sense.
Well,
The
sport
handler
horse
for me
probably
is very distracting. What's that,
would you
Stephanie?
well, like your horse, you talk about how she's so stoic. I think that like when they go in and start fiddling, they don't release.
They don't, and it's a distraction a lot of the time. Yeah, so they're distracting themselves for sure. Why won't he work on him? Heather, that was probably from the why won't he work on him at a level 1? I don't know. He just doesn't want to work on horses that are hurting for whatever reason. But it was like really a low number. I don't know if he said why not, to be honest with you. How do you discourage them from biting? Well, 1, I have a hold of their halter. Okay, so they can't really bite me. 2, and 2, a lot of times there's a lot of pre-warning to biting, right? So they're gonna come around and look at you, and so when they come around, I just poke them in the face. That kind of stops that behavior right away. And then also I listen really well. And so, okay, and then part of listening is how do you respond to listening? So if they're coming around to bite me, I listen to what they say. I acknowledge it. I go, okay, I got you. You guys see that in my videos all the time. I'm like, all right, I hear you. And then I change my behavior. That's the next part. Okay. So if they're coming around to bite you, that's just communication. It's just communication. So I acknowledge it verbally to them. Like, I see you, I hear you, I gotcha. And then I change my behavior, and that normally ends it right there. And then they go, sometimes I'm not joking, you guys, they go, huh, she's like listening to me. She's listening. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And I always want the owners to like see that, you know, like see that for what that is, because it's so cool. And to kind of go like, wow, there was just like a major communication that went on there that I don't know if I've had with my horse before. So that's fun to do. And then yeah, those are the main ways. Nothing crazy. I mean, I just pay attention and change my actions. So yeah. Okay. So those were the 3 reasons that he doesn't like a handler. I also have, oh yeah, I already talked about the other one where the person's like messing with them. And I have for certain noticed they do mess with their owners more. They don't mess with me as much. They just don't. Because I don't have that. Like I'm not there for that. I'm there for something else. And they can, you know, horses are masters of intention. I say that all the time. They know I'm there for a different reason. They know because I'm looking at their body like what's going on. So it's fun. Okay. He talks about how to look at this picture, you guys. So funny. He's like, that's the correct way to put a halter on, and the bottom one is an incorrect way. I thought that was funny. But he made a point. Thank you for making a point about that. When you buckle it properly, it distributes the weight better instead of the one tong going through. If you don't put the rest of the thing through, it is all the pressure's on that one tong so that can break. I'm like, okay, cool. I like that. Oh, Jen's here. Admit. Okay. So that was kind of cool. He did also talk about tying a horse. Okay. we were slightly different on whether to tie. He said if you're gonna tie them, make sure that they can, that one, you tie them to something that is very strong, right? That's kind of common sense. Also, or tie them to something that's gonna break. One of the two, not in between, right? So that makes sense. Cross ties. Who here knows what I think about cross ties? Most of you that have been with me, I hate cross ties, man. I don't like them. I don't like them. He had a cool way of saying it though. He doesn't like them either. Okay. So he says another problem with cross ties is that the horse has been trained not to move around while they're in them. I didn't think about that. Some of them still move around, but horses are not in cross ties for fun. They're there to get groomed and tacked. This discipline can detract from the horse's ability to move and process the changes that are happening in their body from their work. I like the way he said that. That's pretty cool. Okay. So, so I find that another way to look at it is that they're there to work, and they've been trained to not move in cross ties, so therefore they're not going to process the work as well. You guys know, farriers don't like you messing with the horse either. Yeah, exactly, because that makes them move around, they get unbalanced. You guys know that my reason for not liking cross ties is that you're putting a muzzle on them. Okay, because everything they do is communication. And so if you have them cross-tied, you can't see that they just went like that. You can't see when they come around to bite at you. That's communication. They can't put their head down. They can't raise their head up. What if they're really enjoying it and they want to go like this? They can't do that. Okay, so the more you restrict the horse, the less you're going to learn about the situation and the less that they're going to express to you. And this mentality goes all the way through, and I've talked about it before. I'll do it from my least favorite up, because normally I go from my favorite down. My least favorite is cross ties. I do not like cross ties. I will occasionally, 1 out of 100 times, do a horse in cross ties. And when I do, it's because I have a very, fidgety horse, which I already know. I'm already thinking of a client right now. And I know that I need to do something specific. Okay. So even with my fidgety horses, I like to let them tell me everything they think. But if I'm like, I am here to fix that, I'm sorry, sir, are going to have to stand still and I'm going to be on a stool. We're going to be in cross ties. Okay. So cross ties are my least favorite. I don't mind tying. I don't hard tie. I do not hard tie. If I'm going to tie, I loop it. I'll either loop it or wrap it. And horses are very respectful of that. Or sometimes, if I need a little more control, I will loop it around once and then hold on to the lead. Okay. So if I know I'm going to go into an area where I already know they don't like it. I know they're going to bite at me. I'm going to loop it, hold the lead rope, and then I'm going to go, listen, you and we got to get through this together. Okay. But I'm going to keep your face away from my hind end. All right. Excellent. And then I get the work done and then I undo it. Okay. The stall, I'm not a huge fan of stalls, just because they can't move around too much. They are a little restricting, especially if it's a small stall. I do love me a paddock with, or a round pen with a halter and lead rope, because they are very, vocal when they have room to express themselves. I've also felt like, it just feels better to be outside. It just feels better when there's no walls. Okay. So when you're riding, like when I ride Georgia, she's always better outside than in an arena. Okay. It just feels better. And then, for the super advanced people, and some of you do this, liberty in a pasture. I mean, like you've arrived, right? And I do that it's funny. I don't do that for my really vocal horses. I do that for some of my very, very stoic horses. Okay, because I had an Andalusian mare that I worked on named Minnie, and she would very, very quiet, very regal, you know, never wants to make a fool of herself. She doesn't like to release in front of me. Okay, because releasing is a sign of weakness, and she don't like that. So she's gonna hold it on into herself. So I do her in a paddock at Liberty. It's like a small run. And so I would work on her, and then all of a sudden she'd start kind of like jigging around, and I go, okay, what's going on? She walks off 20 feet, yawns in the corner, yawns again, looks back at me. I go, I'm not watching. And then comes back about 2 minutes later so I can proceed. Okay. So that was fun. That was wild. Okay. So, that's kind of the way I do it. Now, every situation, every horse is going to be a little different. Some of them I'm not going to let them have a ton of freedom. Okay. If I really need to focus on a spot, they're not going to like it. I'm going to have to make adjustments, right? Okay. But that's normally how I do it. Okay. He goes into, this was nice of him to do for not your average horse person. Warning signs, okay, and we talk about these in my How Horses Communicate hour-long video, right? So the difference between relaxation, enjoyment, concern, and release. There's a reason that it's good to know the difference. Okay, so he says some warning signs, pinning of the ears. Yes, we know that. Swishing of the tail. Oh, he does go into what some of them mean though, so I thought that was interesting. He says pinning the ears. While this doesn't necessarily mean the horse is aggressive, it does warn us the horse is anticipating something to which they want you to know about. That's kind of cool. That's a cool way to say that. Swishing of the tail. This can happen when there are flies present, which is a different meaning, true. But when it happens it's in coincidence with your work, it may mean they're irritated. Yeah, swishing the tail is certainly an irritation. They're like, oh, okay, stomping the foot, same thing, irritation. Grinding of the teeth represents a frustrated animal. Okay. Kicking, he goes, here, I'm gonna let you guys read it. Hold on, where is it? Kicking. Enough said. I like this guy. He's like, enough said. I'll make one comment. Before they kick, there are normally about 3 or 4 other signs they give you before they do that. And I'll tell you the exception is a lot of time I've found young horses. Young horses will go from like, we're great to I'm trying to kill you like real fast. They just don't monitor their emotions as well. Okay. Biting, same as above. He says, and then he goes into some good signs. He says sighing, licking the lips, moaning, yawning, blinking, and mutual grooming. He has the same opinion of mutual grooming that I do. It's all fun and games until somebody gets bit. Okay, so keep the mutual grooming to like a minimum, like shut it off pretty quick, right? It's like that one friend that can't tolerate any alcohol. You got to shut them down quick, okay? This was interesting, you know, because you know that blinking according to the Masterson method shows tension, right? Most of you that follow Masterson method, he says this one is more obvious when the horse is moving. And I thought, what? It means the horse is submitting to whatever you're asking of it. So I feel like that's different because when you're doing body work on them when they blink, that's a sign of tension. So he's saying that when they're moving, that would probably be more of like a training situation. I'm not sure though. I'd kind of like some clarification on that. Okay. So, but you're always watching the eyes anyways, because it gives you a ton of information. And then again, he brings up the licking. This usually means the horse sees you as lower in the pecking order and is taking care of you. See, he didn't say that the first time in that quote that I put up, remember? Where it's like licking shows dominance. And everyone was like, and I mean, kind of all of us were like, I've never heard that before. So he kind of goes into more detail here and says that you're lower in the pecking order and they're taking care of you. I was like, okay. I don't know. That's still interesting to me. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of basic stuff. Oh, chewing. Frustrated that you are hit. Yeah, that goes with the grinding. Yeah. Chewing. That definitely. Nancy, yeah, we'll be talking about the new site. It's not Zoom. Oh, before Zoom is finished. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. We got a lot of time to talk about it too, because I'm not going to stop my other site until I do it. Okay, let's talk about some strokes. Are we ready? The first stroke is called the sweep. The sweep. You're moving away from a starting point. Here's the picture. Okay, so if you're on the horse's forehead and you're moving away, I can't do it backwards, but here, you're going to move away. That's a sweep. Okay. The thumb in this case have slowly sunk into the tissue and are being drawn apart and stretching the fascia. You guys could kind of see that on my forehead. Right? See how it's got the skin? It's pulling it. So that's the sweep. The sweep can be applied to other areas of the body. And you can also use, you don't have to use your thumbs. You can use your hands. He says elbows, but that's not fun trying to do elbow work. You guys can go ahead and try that if you want to. It's really awkward. It's important that the stretch be put in two directions simultaneously with any resistance to the stretch being held until it releases. Okay, so if I'm doing this and I'm pulling apart and then all of a sudden there's like a stuck area, you stay there until it releases and then you slide on. Now you do this same thing with linear friction. Okay, so sore back series, we talked about that. As you're palpating the back, if you feel like a speed bump, you hit that and you wait. And then it just released. Okay, so same idea, but you're just doing it in two directions, away from itself, away from the center. There's like a center point. Okay, so here's the photo. It's not a great photo. It's kind of dark. He's on the horse's forehead. So you can try that on the forehead. Okay. Circles and C-stroke are next. Circles and C-stroke. Now, y'all hear me say circles, circles, circles all the time. Okay. So it's the same idea. He says it's a 360-degree move. C-stroke is almost a circle. I'm going to be honest, I don't do C-strokes, so I'm going to try them out this week and see what I think about them. Okay, so he says that the C-stroke and the 360 are effective for breaking up facial adhesions. The direction of the stroke can either be clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on what you feel is needed. I thought that was interesting because I know that there is a practitioner that teaches that certain circle strokes should be done in a certain direction. And I've never bought into that, to be honest with you. I don't know. So he doesn't buy into that either. You can do it either direction according to him. It's interesting. It's something to play around with.
When you get into
And-
Chinese medicine and acupuncture, they talk about doing that in specific directions, whether you're trying to bring up energy or decrease energy.
Oh, sweet. That's pretty
So-
cool.
Okay.
That's cool. So if you guys didn't hear what she said, in Chinese medicine, if you were trying to bring up energy, you would do it in one direction. If you're trying to bring down energy, you'd do it in another. So in my world, if I'm trying to bring up energy, I'm going to slow my strokes down. And I'm going to use certain massage strokes. If I want to bring the energy up, I'm going to use different massage strokes, right? So your percussion and your friction are going to be faster. And then your effleurage is gonna bring down energy. Cause those have influence on the parasympathetic system. Cool stuff, though. Okay. So yeah, those are effective for breaking up fascial adhesions. Are the 360, the circles and the C strokes. Okay. So the sweep stretches the fascia, the circles and the C strokes break it up. Skin rolling. I have a funny video of me grabbing onto this horse. I put it up this week, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'm trying to loosen up the scapula and it's just not going. So at one point in time, I Vulcan death gripped the scapula skin and I was like, you're just gonna let go. And the horse went, oh. It was really funny. And I go, skin roll. I didn't actually get to the rolling part because grabbing it and squeezing it worked, but skin rolls are fun to break up fascia adhesions. Okay. So with these, you're going to grab the skin in between your fingers. Skin should come up very easily. You should be able to feel just the skin and you're just going to roll it. It takes a little bit of practice. And you want to roll it in both directions. And that is important because you might free it up one direction and still tight the other direction. He says skin rolling does not address the deeper adhesions in myofascia, but will help uncover them by removing the more superficial ones. That was interesting. Skin rolling should be performed in both directions. I already said that. Okay. The last one I'm going to talk about today, because I do want to get to some of the photos, is going to be compression. Compression. So compression is the same in myofascia as it is in massage. Compression is used to move out, although I don't necessarily say that I use it to move fluid into or out of the tissue, which is what he says, to move fluid into and out of the tissue. I use it to compress the muscles. Spread them out, right? Like on adhesions, when you have an adhesion, it's like this. It's all bundled up here for adhesions. You press down on that big knot. It spreads them out. It pushes those muscle fibers apart. It takes out the nasty blood. And then after you have pushed it out and held it and it's flat, then you rub it to bring new blood in and then it slides and it's happy again. Remember that? The sliding filament theory? Okay. So something similar. Yeah. Trigger point compression. Exactly. Tellington. Yeah. Jones circle and quarter can be done both ways. Exactly. And you know what? He talks about her in here. It might be a little bit, it might be on next week's info though. He talks about Tellington T-Touch, which I thought was kind of cool because I thought he was older than her, but maybe not. Or maybe he talked about it there.
Linda Tellington Jones is just turned 86.
Oh, okay. She's probably older than him. I don't know. Oh yeah, it is. It's on the C strokes. He says the circles are an offshoot of the circles technique that Linda Tellington Jones developed for her Tellington Equine Awareness Method. Tellington Jones describes their use as being disruptive to the nervous system pattern. And then he says, I feel they're very effective in breaking up fascial adhesions. Yeah, so he gave a shout out to her, which is pretty cool. Okay, so compression. Used to move fluid out of the tissue. And he uses the full palm, right? And so when you do compression, you go to, you hit resistance, you wait there until it releases, and then you keep going. Okay. He says the nervous system will reset and remove each of the barriers as they are engaged and hydrated. And then he also states, which I think was interesting, don't get a release and then lift your hand up and be like, I'm done with it. Slowly lift your hand up. Okay, so that's like when I'm talking about, don't drop them on their face, right? Don't drop them on their face. Nobody likes that. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. I'll put a bookmark in it. We'll hit the rest of them next week. Because there's a couple more. And they're a little more specific, so I want to give you guys enough. That was a lot for your homework. Okay, those are your homework. Try them out. See what your horses think about that. Okay. I want to take a look at the photos that I got this week, which was really fun. Stephanie, we're gonna look at Stephanie, tell me the name of your horse.
My boy's name is Mags.
Mags.
Yeah, Magnum. I call him Mags for short.
Okay, perfect. I figured. All right, cool. So let's look at Stephanie's horse first, because that was fun. She sent me this photo a while ago, actually. It was before this, and then it actually gave me the idea to do this. I did a side by side with him.
I
So
love
this was
that.
the photo that I put up of Georgia. And I just said, make sure they're standing square because that's really important. And we'll talk about that. And then what you're going to be looking at is you want to look at the pectorals, which are here. Okay. I like to look at the insertion points, which are right here. And then I like to look at their chest, which is right here. And then I like to look at the sternum. Is that straight? Is this equal? Okay. This was a fun exercise. So let's take a look here. Let's go to Stephanie's right off the bat. I'll know it when I see it. Boom. Oh, that's the after. So hold on. Let me go back. I want to show you guys the side by side because it was minor. The change was minor, but it's a big deal. Okay, and I lightened this photo on this one. So can you guys see this? Okay, so what I'm looking at, and it's minor on this horse, but one of the pectorals is tighter than the other. Okay. And one of the insertion points for the pectorals is tighter than the other. So this area right here, bam. Do you see how that's bigger and like poochier than this side? This side looks nice and smooth. Okay. And then this pectoral looks nice. It's got a nice little curve to it. The sternum, look at the sternum. It's slightly off. Okay, so if you were going to draw a line of that going up, it's slightly off. Okay, but this is the main concern right here because this tells me that this insertion point is really tight. Enough to influence this. Okay. And then so Stephanie, tell us a little bit about what you were experiencing with him.
So Magnum was actually a gift to me. Couldn't afford this horse. He was a pretty fan trainer. And after he was done with the Derby, he was given to me. And it's been a horse that I've been learning on. And a lot of times, I should say, learning to do reining maneuvers. I've always been the show mom. So when I go to spin him, he either drops his right shoulder or he pushes it out. And it's not terrible, but you just have to constantly stay on it. Sometimes when I'm loping my big fast circles, I feel like I have to hold him up. So at different times, I mean, I just have to check in with him. And that's something, we do a lot of counters to help make them stand themselves up independently. And it's just something that's ongoing. So, no horse is ever perfect, but
Yeah.
he's he's pretty special. I mean, he's just a special horse, and I want to know why certain things happen. Why is this happening? It's
Yeah.
not a coincidence that it's always the right side. So,
Okay, so
I mean,
Stephanie sent me this photo and this is what my eye got drawn to. And so I gave her a couple things to do. Okay, so rub in there, squeeze on that little sucker right there, do some slaps, do some pounds, kind of reach up into that armpit, squeeze away, and then look at this beautiful chest right here. This is the after photo.
Mhm.
Isn't that awesome? That's
And
equal.
what's interesting too, like what I noticed with him when I would go to like rub, because I always rub, when I rub their chest, he would do that fast action, turn around, like, what are you doing? You know, I mean, he was telling me, hey, this is kind of ouchy.
Yeah.
And so as I'm learning more about him, I just kind of feel like I have to go softly. I can't just go in there with a lot of pressure. I have to be very gentle, to earn his trust that I'm not going to hurt him.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, with the pectorals especially, they love slapping instead. If they don't like it rubbed, slap them instead, which sounds like the last thing you'd want to do, but it really works well.
He liked
Okay.
that. I did actually try the slap method on it.
Yeah, it's so cool. So fantastic job on that one, Stephanie. Excellent. Let's take a look at, this is Melinda's horse, Mira. Okay, so this, in my initial photo, I said how important it is to make sure they're standing square, especially in the front, not necessarily in the back, but in the front. Okay, and so she's slightly off, isn't she, you guys? So look at this divot over here is not over here. So I asked her, I said, I'm not going to comment on this just because she's slightly off. Okay, so hold on real quick. She sent me another photo and I want to show it to you because she got it, see if I can pull it up quick. She took another photo here after I'd said that to her. Okay, it's not gonna pull up. She's completely normal on both sides. So just by having her feet that far off made this divot and it made me draw my eyes to it. So they have to be completely straight in the front. Okay. All right, let's take a look at another one. There were some cool ones on here. Whoops. Oh, gosh. Please go back. Okay. Okay, so that was Melinda's. Oh, this one, you guys. Okay, take a look. There's a lot going on here. Okay. This gal actually came to one of my clinics. She's right down the road from me, so I might have to go work on this horse. Okay. Do you see how uneven this is? Look at the top of the chest here and the top of the chest here. Okay. Look at the direction the sternum's going. It's going that way. And then look at the direction it's going up here. It's like this. Okay. Now, this horse specifically was very touchy at the serrate. So the first thing I check is the pectorals. The second thing I check is the serrate. And then the brachiocephalicus. Okay. So very tight. This horse was very girthy and very sensitive with the serrate. And you can see why. Okay. It's all wonky here. So that sternum is not centered. Okay. You can even see these two lines don't match up. Right. And I have a pretty good photo of another horse that shows those lines perfectly lined up. Okay, so this horse needs some help in the serrate and the sternum and the pectorals and the chest. Okay,
Aaron, if you were to look at that horse from the top, and if it was square, would it kind of like be kind of curved, you think too, on top? I mean,
so what's interesting is that the sternum certainly has to do with, and I think we talked about this either last week or the week before, but it has to do with spine straightening, if the spine is crooked. Because, right, the sternum, it's just one big barrel, so if one part's off, it's going to take the spine off also. So you should be able to see it. I think it would be a little bit harder. Okay, here's Lila. Okay, so here's the example I was talking about where you can see this line is perfectly lined up. It goes all the way back there. It's all straight. Okay, I also like how the legs go straight down from the body. Right? Look at the little whiskers. Cute. I could see this horse having a little bit wider stance just because they're wide, but they go pretty straight up and down, so that's good. I'll show you one that does not go straight up and down though. Oh, this was one where they gave me some feedback, which was really fun. This one I lightened up, I think. Yeah, so I lightened this photo up. This is another one that's pretty darn straight. Looks nice and soft, nice and supple. The legs go straight down.
Aaron, can you go
Thought he
back
was
to
fun.
the chestnut because he was mine?
Which
And,
one?
I want that
This
one.
one. Yeah, tell us about him.
So, I'm having a lot of issues with him being body sore, and I can't really figure out what the story is. But when I pick up the leg on that side, and you know how you kind of just like hold the leg straight from the shoulder,
Yep.
he really has some really bad pain there. He will turn around and try and bite me. So and he has some pain, like if I run my hand down that muscle that I have circled right there,
Uh-huh.
he's telling me he doesn't like it.
So that's oh yeah, so the bicep. I sent you some photos, didn't I? Okay, so this is what I sent back to this. This is the bicep muscle. Okay, so the area that she has circled here, that's pretty much right where the bicep is. And so when you're picking that leg up, do you pick it up forward or like you're picking his hoof up or what?
No, you had a video one time about when you pick it up and hang it straight to like do a little stretch from the shoulder.
Yeah.
So I started doing that with him, and he was very painful for him for some reason.
Okay, so as you're picking the leg up, like you're picking the hoof out, or bring it up 90 degrees forward.
Yep, that's what when I pick it up, I'll pick it up like you normally would, 90 degrees forward, and then I kind of just let it fall back a little bit to a little straighter, in line with the shoulder, and that's where all the pain is.
Yeah, so that is certainly the bicep. This muscle
Bicep.
right here, or it's the joint, right?
Okay.
So those two. So this was my number one idea for that one, is the bicep
All
is
right.
really tight and sore. Because when you pick the hoof up and you want this leg to hang straight down like this, but if it's pulled
Right.
forward, it's because this guy is too tight.
Too tight.
Okay.
Okay.
And then to do the leg range of motion, you bring this leg back
Mm-hmm.
and down. So that stretches it. So he probably doesn't
Okay.
like that either.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the main one I'm thinking about. Here's another one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the adductors, the pectorals. And then this was the other one I was thinking, the brachiocephalicus. So you might want to trace all the way up to up here and see if he's sensitive up there. But it definitely sounds like it's this,
Okay.
this bicep. And then I would do some of the leg range of motion backward with him.
Okay.
And just allow him to settle into it. Okay, so let him take his time. And oh, did I send you that video with the little bay?
No.
Okay, I'll send you that video. You can also look it up. on my site here. So if you guys go to my site, you can go to these
Thank
three
you.
dots here, and you can go to search, and you can go leg range of motion. Okay. And it'll bring up everything I've done on leg range of motion. Oh, like this one was interesting. This was an interesting video. This is it right here, Sandra. Okay. So leg range of motion. Right here. So this is what you're talking about, right? Like this is hard for him to do.
That's hard for him to do. Yeah, he turns around to try and bite me, which
Yeah,
so
that's
strange.
bicep. That's
Yeah.
bicep. Okay, so
Okay.
I want you to watch this video. It's called Leg Range of Motion Assessment,
Yep.
Part 2.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can slap this. Try slapping it for him
Okay.
because he might not be ready for the rubs. It's too much. Okay.
Got it. I never thought about that, but okay.
I know. It sounds like you. It's like, why would I slap him? He's gonna kill me.
When he
No, they
doesn't like me to touch him. He doesn't want me to
Yes.
touch him. I really don't want to slap him, but okay.
Exactly. I know, but give it a try. Just protect yourself
Thank
first,
you.
obviously. Hand on the halter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let me show you that other photo. If you guys need to bail out, feel free. I understand we're a little over. So much good information. This one was nice. So at a distance, it didn't look as good as it does up close. This looks very soft and supple, very loose, doesn't it? Nice and straight. This is equal. There's no huge knobs here. That's nice. So I want to show you Karen's horse. This one just looks a little tight to me. So it's equal, right? But don't those look pulled tight? The skin even looks tight. Jazz, here's one I want to show you too. So for as wide as this horse is, I want the legs down here. I want the foot here. Did you see how it's kind of in more than as wide as this is here? You'd want it to be equal. This one especially, do you guys see that? This one especially goes in more. Okay, so I want this foot right here, the center of it. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm thinking this pectoral is tight. Oh, it even looks tight, actually, now that I look at it, right there. That looks a little tight. So you might need to grab that armpit. I will do a video this week. I was gonna try to get it done and I didn't get it done.
She's got a lot of front hoof problems right now, so.
Yeah, it's showing up. And then let me show you this last one. Oh, this was another example where I was like, I'm not gonna comment on this one just because they're not standing square. Is what I think I said. And then she sent me another photo. So that was nice of her. And they were standing square and it looked much better. Okay. Sarah's horse here, nice and straight up and down. This one's almost angled out a little bit. So that would be a deltoid if it's going to be tight, but not too bad. Zanzi looks pretty good. Oh, here you go, guys. Pretty obvious now, isn't it? Now that we looked at the other ones. Okay. Look at, well, first of all, you guys can tell that this is way too narrow. And I asked her, because sometimes when people take photos, it's like not a great photo. And I said, does your horse always stand like that? And she said, yeah. I go, oh, okay, we got some issues. So these pectorals are pulled too tight. You can even see like, it doesn't even have like a normal shape here, does it? It's too tight. It doesn't have like the little boobies. Okay, it's just one big tight area. Okay, this looks tight. I can't tell. I mean, the angle's a little bit off, so the sternum looks kind of straight, but look at it's even wrinkling in the armpits. Okay, so I would grab up in that armpit right there and I would just squeeze until I feel that tissue give. The horse might not like it that much. But as you guys know, they can thank you later. Okay. And that needs to be done on both sides. And then I would give her some homework on how to, there's a couple different ways you can keep those loose. But I would need to get those loosened up for sure. And I have loosened up horses in one time, one visit. That they didn't need it again. It was really cool. Actually, that Andalusian mare I was talking about that I do at Liberty. She needed that on the hind end. It's a little bit different on the hind end. But so that looks kind of narrow. The pectorals are equal though, so that's good. Okay. Oh, maybe this was the one I was like, I can't tell you. Yeah, this one. That's a cute little horse, but I can't tell you a ton based off that stance and that photo. Cause like the head is going sideways. And then, you know, that one foot's significantly back. So I think she sent me a different photo. So that was good. And the horse is fine. I was like, oh yeah, no, they're great. So the photo does need to be really good on this one. Sometimes it doesn't matter. You could send me your horse eating and I'd be like, whoa. Okay. Oh, this horse. Yeah, this was the other one. Look at the size of this horse, you guys. I was like, holy Mack truck, goodness gracious. That's a big horse. And so what I wrote back to this person, well, first of all, this looks really tight to me. Just the skin, doesn't it? The skin looks really tight. The sternum's straight. Skin looks really tight. Skin looks really tight. Very big horse. Okay, and then this just looks tight. Everything just kind of looks tight. It doesn't look uneven, but it just looks tight. Okay, so let me see what I sent to her. She's somewhere fancy. I don't know where, but it's not local. It's not Enumclaw, Washington, I'll tell you that. Okay, she said she is I don't know how to say that, a Polish sports horse. She is showing that she has some discomfort when I touch and rub her chest and is also girthy. Okay, there you go. I had some work done a couple weeks ago and the person said that she couldn't find any reason for that behavior and that it could just be a thing. I don't agree. And I said, I don't agree either. Based off the photo, I don't agree either. So reach up, I just gave her things to do. Okay. I asked about saddle fit also because saddle fit can influence that. She says the saddle has been checked recently and fits nicely. That's fantastic. So that narrows it down then. Okay. So I asked her to check for the pectorals, reach into that armpit, and then also possible ulcers. Okay. And then I said, send me a picture of that horse. I want to see what it looks like. This is her son. She didn't send me a picture of that horse, but look at, aren't they cute? That's her son. He's so cute. He don't look as big as Mama though, does he? That chest on Mama was like, whoa, it's huge. Okay. Let's do one more. This was fun. I might do this again. There's that big old Mack truck. Oh, this was the photo I sent her. Yeah. So like this looks tight. And then those shoulders, these are the shoulder joints. Shoulder joints look tight. Okay. Oh, this horse was interesting. Maybe I'll use that horse. Oh yeah, there's Mira. Oh no, that's not it. Never mind. Oh yeah, this one was tight. Okay, so let me show you this horse. This one is very interesting. Look at the shapes here going on. Look at the insertion points. Okay, that's really, really interesting. The shape is just, isn't it unequal? Can you tell how unequal it is? It's like one's higher, one's got more of an angle. They're really like bulgy. So they shouldn't be this bulgy right here. The bulge should be the big old, you know, the chest like that. That's what you want to see as a nice, and it's breed specific. So I'm not sure what breed this horse is. You know, Chester doesn't have any chest at all. So But this horse has a chest, it's just in an odd shape. So this insertion point down here is really tight.
And the right side is asymmetrical to the left.
Yeah, they're not
leans.
equal. They're like, okay. So, the first thing I want to do is grab this and just squeeze it. And then I want to get up into both these armpits as high as I possibly can. From the front and the back. Okay. And then I kind of want to look at the scapulas up at the top. Because this is odd shape. I
And the
would love to-
collateral groove on the right hand side looks like it needs some work.
Yeah, I mean, everything's just slightly off. So I would love to work on that horse. Okay. Any questions? Questions?
Aaron, when you put your, go to pinch it, do you, like if you're looking at the horse and you're gonna go to the R left, would you use your right hand to
Yeah.
go with your fingers first? Okay.
Oh, yes. And the other thing I should bring up is that to truly grab the pectoral, you got to have the leg lifted. I didn't say that to you guys. It's a big deal. You can grab it if they have their leg down. It's just really hard. Okay, so you're gonna pick the, if I'm facing the horse, I want this arm in the center of their chest, and then this arm is gonna pick the leg up, and then I'm gonna go right into that armpit. I'm gonna grab it and squeeze it, and you're gonna feel pork loin. Now, Chester's pork loin is this big. Georgia's pork loin is this big. That Mack truck pork loin is gonna be like that. Okay. So you're gonna kind of pick the leg up, and then the legs should come forward. I don't know if I can make my arm do that. And then you're gonna grab, and you can do it on yourself. Okay. So here's my pork loin right here. Okay.
Okay.
So pick the leg up, bring it forward, and grab that pork loin. That's exactly what it feels like. You can do it on yourself. That's how big mine is. Okay.
Mhm. That's
So
great.
get up there and grab that pork loin. Yeah, Stephanie?
Thank you. That was great clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good. I will do a video this week though, I promise, at some point in time. I think I might do it on little Chester. Just to show little Chester. Okay?
Hey,
Any
Aaron,
questions?
oh, sorry, one question, and mine's a web, which side is which? So the one that you were on, that all these, is that the one that's gonna be staying and that we're using? Cause I guess I put my photos on WW.
Oh, either one works. Either one
Oh,
works. Yeah,
okay.
so, for those of you who don't know, I have two sites. One is my Winning Your Horse's Heart, and that's to the public. That's what those of you who do not have my clinic are on. I don't put a ton of stuff out there on that one where the public's gonna go like, ah! Like I don't put, if some of my clients are skinny or old or whatever, or if they're misbehaving and I have to get after them a little bit, I'm not gonna put anything like that out on the web because I don't want to hear it, right? I will put the challenging cases on my coaching community because that's a private group. It's just us. We're going to talk about it and I'm going to be real about it. Okay. So those are the two differences. This chest one was out on the public, and I will shoot down anyone so quick that says anything nasty about horses. So I haven't run into that. People have been wonderful. But I pay a lot of attention to that and I don't let that occur on my site. But just so you know, that is open to the public. And I don't put a lot of stuff up on there that like anytime a horse looks skinny or something like, or they look fat, you know what I mean? I just don't want to hear it. Every there's situations. So we're all horse people. We understand. So either one is fine. I try to keep more sensitive or more difficult steps onto the coaching community, but not everybody here is on that. So I like to open it up to the public. Nancy, as far as my clinic, so Cindy, you might want those too. when Molly and I originally did our clinic together, those was quite a while ago. It was on her site. Okay. And then she got out of Shine-A-Light Productions. So I had to get my own site, which I use Samcart, and I used Samcart for a year and a half. They are quite expensive to maintain monthly. So I have found a new system called System.io, which I am slowly changing all my stuff over to. So that's what I'm in now. I have all my stuff still on Samcart that you guys are used to, and I'm filtering it over to my new site, which is affordable. So everyone who has the clinic, you're gonna have it either way. You still have access on Samcart, and then I'm gonna put out an announcement that everything is moving over to this other one. I'm gonna get everybody moved over. Everybody's gonna get logged in. It's super easy. It's not a problem. And then I will eventually shut down Samcart. I'll probably give everybody 2 months to get off there. I mean, I shouldn't even have to give people that long, but I want to send out a bunch of messages and stuff. And then we'll be all on my new site. And if anyone from the old one has an issue, I have the way to get them over. I already have all the documents for it. Was that
Question
your
is,
question, Nancy?
well, the question is, it's still a, you open it up in your browser, you don't have a portal for it.
Yeah, I think you just open it in your browser. Although, and listen, oh, Bridget's late. I do not have, I will have a website. Oh my gosh, I know you guys. I know it's gonna be amazing. That's just another feature of System.io, but it's just another thing I have to learn. And currently I'm tapped out on learning. So I'm going to just function the way that we're functioning now. And then I will eventually have I will probably have a website where you can just go to my website and plug into your portal there. But for now, we're gonna do it off the browser.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Bridget, you got us on the last 2 minutes, the last 30 seconds, Bridget. Sorry.
Yes,
We're all done.
I know, I forgot about it. I was doing some work. We've just bought a farm and
Oh, yay.
I have just had to do some fence fixing as an emergency. So
Oh,
everything else went out my head, and then I've come in and got onto my laptop and thought,
yeah.
never mind.
That's all right. I will have the recording up within 2 hours, unless Nancy
Awesome.
reminds me, and then I'll have it up even faster.
That's awesome. Thank you.
But I have a funny photo I'm going to put up. I did some fence fixing myself yesterday, and as I slammed the post into the hole that was filled with mud water, the mud water went straight up my face like that. And I have it all over my face and my sweatshirt. So that was fun. And then my husband was like, I need a picture of that. So I'll be putting that picture up tonight, maybe. All right. Any last questions, everyone? You got a lot of homework. You got a lot of homework. I hope all you 5-degreers out there, put your hats on, your gloves. All right. Thanks for joining. I will have the,
Negative.
5 degrees, it's gonna be negative 18 or 20.
ew,
Same.
yuck. It's Arizona time. We got to go south.
It's
I
still
will have the
cold here.
recording up on YouTube, guys.
got a question.
Thanks for joining.
I got a question real quick. Can you
Sure.
put the homework in a list form on your Facebook so that when I'm out at the barn, I'm trying to remember what we're supposed to be doing?
That's a good idea. You're gonna love Journey to the Horse, man. You're gonna love it. That's how I roll.
Okay.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay.
Hey guys, have a good night.
Me too.
Bye.
Bye.